what's up? I'm kind of excited because when we're doing stuff, we're usually doing pretty radical stuff. We're building alter ego, rock buggy, dealing with big kingpin axles or things like that. But the everyday consumer that's out there with their normal, I'd say like JT or JL 3.6 liter, what happens when your rig goes kaput? How hard is it to actually change out an engine in a modern vehicle? We've got something pretty cool. What we're gonna be doing, now this is a 2018, 2020 JLU, this is Dynatrax, and they were having some engine issues. We did some compression tests on the passenger side just because that's the easiest to get to. Now on those back two cylinders, they were like around 120. Lowest you wanna be is 130. I think factory is somewhere like around 150 or something like that. What we did is we had to figure out how to get an engine, how to get this thing swapped out, and what to do. So we reached over to our friend, Sergeant Jeep, that guy right there. If you need any kind of Jeep parts, doink, 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 that guy. He has everything. This is a, what we call a low mileage 3.6, right? Out of a JT JLU. There is a non-torque and an e-torque version. You gotta make sure you get the right one when you're doing your stuff. Some of the ways you can tell on these things is a lot of the newer e-torques or even the turbo stuff, they're gonna have a flywheel on them that is not the normal flywheel. So that's one way you can look and tell it. Also, you're gonna see a lot more electronics on these things. I don't know if you could use an e-torque in lieu of a 3.6. I'm not even gonna say something like that if you could or couldn't. Find the vehicle that has an engine similar to yours, use your VIN, use their VIN, make sure it's all the same base, and then get it and swap it. And we're gonna show you how to do that.
Behind me, there's a Jeep JL. We did a motor swap. This one in particular is a 3.6 liter. A lot of these Jeep JLs are getting to that mileage mark to where this is going to become a common thing because, I mean, as you Jeep owners know, the 3.6 isn't the most bulletproof motor out there. A lot of these motors fail because in the true crawling aspect, they do get put into some really weird angles and stuff. You'll see pretty common, like if you're on a pretty heavy incline, they'll start smoking. They just have random little quirks, if you will. This one, I'm not particularly sure exactly what happened to it. As you can tell, it's still put together. I didn't take it apart. It sounded to me like a little bit of valve train noise, but no real way to 100% back that statement. As far as getting this thing out, it wasn't terrible. There are a couple bolts that were a little bit of a pain. As you see online, a lot of people pull the cab off or they pull it with the trans, they pull the core support. I didn't do either one of those. I didn't really want to take any extra steps. I just wanted to get the motor out because that was the goal. Coming out wasn't terrible. The harness does come with it, which is a great benefit in terms of like not having to pull every single little connector off in the car where a lot of them are in really hard to reach places. Not too bad. I think I got it out in, I don't know, 4 hours or so. And that wasn't, you know, nothing crazy rushed, just kind of making sure everything was thought through so it would come out in the first go.
The engine is out, right? Now, when you're looking at this thing, there's a giant hole in here now, right? Which this engine used to be. Now, again, this is the 3.6 non-e-torque version. So there's not the 48 volt system or whatever that goes with it, like that whole stuff. So
scary orange wire system.
Yeah, exactly, the scary orange wire system. So a lot of people talk about having to pull this out and get this stuff out. Now this was a one-man job. The one man is that man right there, he just did it. It is now sitting here. There was a few things he pulled off, obviously like the intake and all of that kind of stuff, so that he could hook chains to things like that and get it out easier. Weight-wise, it's obviously a lot lighter than a V8 or something like that we normally pull, right? Pulling this thing out of there, even with the PS seat, even with those things, you did not have to remove the core support, any of the bumper, winch, any of that stuff. Everything came out. There's no marks on anything. You can see just, you know, I mean, how much room there is in there. A lot of the times you have to remove a lot of this to get something out of the vehicle. Now, this is what we're gonna be putting back in. Kyle and I've talked about it a little bit. I think our last conversation we had is we're gonna swap the wiring harness off of that onto this, which we feel like will give us the least amount of problems in this. Sometimes when people are pulling these things, they're not paying attention and things like that happen, then that will be a gremlin that you're trying to chase later on. What do you think? You'll probably have this set back in there today.
I don't know, we'll see. The harness does go underneath the intake manifold, so some things do have to come off. That's kind of one of the reasons I did pull the other intake manifold.
Well, you need something to pick it up with too, to drop it back in there.
Motor mounts are different on this motor, so there's a few other things to just keep in mind, as well as the PSC pump is gonna have to get swapped over. So once it was out, I set them both down over here and kind of came up with a game plan. I noticed some of the motor mounts, the brackets were a little different, not sure exactly what this motor came out of. With that being said, also the harness, although it looked like it was intact and solid, once again, I don't know what it came out of. I didn't want to take the chance, so I pulled the entire harness off of both motors and reused the one that I knew worked from this Jeep, just to kind of alleviate any electrical gremlins going forward, as well as like some of the coolant lines were a little different. It was just a matter of like figuring out what made sense to leave on the motor versus what didn't. I typically will try to reuse anything rubber and anything electrical when swapping, just because we know that those things weren't a problem in the Jeep prior. Going in, I definitely required a little bit extra help. The motor sits at kind of a funny angle with the forklift without any sort of engine balancing deal. I used a strap to kind of hold it somewhat level, but still, because it is a very tight squeeze to get it in there, it was a two-person job to get it kind of set back in place. Not too hard to get it back into place, but it did take a little bit of finagling here and there. The motor mounts really didn't want to line up, but a little bit of patience, it went back in pretty smoothly. Going back together is typically a lot quicker. You don't have to worry about safety clips and stuff like that as much. Once it was all hooked up, a couple of the exhaust bolts were a little finicky. Cars got X amount of miles, they get rusty. I snapped one coming out, so I had to drill and tap, little things like that. But going together relatively smooth, and then of course, the moment of truth, does it all work? Luckily, I've had times where it's not so lucky, but luckily everything went very smoothly. Hit the start button and it fired up first try, so can't be more thankful there. There's not even a check engine light on.
I don't know why we were all so shocked. Nobody had any faith in you, dude.
It probably doesn't help that I don't have faith in myself. The only thing we have left, as far as I know, unless something gets added to the list, is charging the AC, which we'll take it over to a shop to get that done, and then just do a little drive cycle, make sure everything's good, solid, no weird lights come on or anything like that, and it'll be back in somebody else's hands. Overall, I would say this is probably a solid 7 in terms of difficulty. I've had my fair share of motors, whether it's a front-wheel drive 4-cylinder car, V8 rear-wheel drive, V8 all-wheel drive. I've had my fair share of motors, and this one's no slouch, but with the harness coming with it and very few things actually plumbed to the motor and having to stay in the car versus out of the car, makes it pretty straightforward.
Climbing out's super easy. You just kind of fall out. It was the climbing back in that was a little harder, but not too bad. Well, they said it was kind of an overlanding trip, but I don't overland all that well.
You're way over the land right now.
I'm way over the land right now, huh?
Yeah.
I was gonna get out, but it's kind of a long way down.